Welcome to No Password Required Breakout Room. From hackathons to casual meetups, we're here to highlight the voices that matter. Breakout Room is presented by ThreatLocker. Welcome to No Password Required Breakout Room. Today, the Breakout Room is at Florida Makes, which is right in the heart of the City Beautiful, Orlando, Florida, for those of you that don't live in Central Florida. We're talking with Robert Whetstine, who is the Director of Information Security at a Fortune 500 organization. I know he has an amazing hack collection that I want to ask him about, but I know his stories are even better. Rob, welcome to the show.
Thanks. I'm excited to be here.
So, I read that you love taking over teams that have been struggling. And it said that you love doing it, which leads me to believe that you've done it more than once, or you look for these opportunities.
I do.
Why have you done it so many times? And what do you do? What's that process look like?
The first thing I do is really talk to the team to ask them what's going well, what's not. What's working, what's not. What sucks, what doesn't. What do you enjoy about your job? What do you hate? That first conversation is the first time many teams that are failing have ever had with a leader who actually asked them and was willing to demonstrably change the team. It's so rare for leaders to listen to their team's feedback and then adapt and adjust to it. So the reason I love taking over failing teams, and I just had this conversation with my boss recently, we're going through a big reorg at my company, and she goes, well, what do you want to do? And I said, if I have my choice, give me the team everyone hates to work with and no one thinks is good. And let me prove to you it was the leader, not the team. And she's like, I knew you'd say something like that. It's just, that's who I am. Like I'm an underdog from the beginning. I'm like a poor homeless kid who's now a Fortune 500 executive, right? So like, I love taking that team that everyone has given up on and then turning them into an absolute powerhouse and just building back their confidence, building back their care for the job. And that's my huge passion. I love kind of building stuff in people. Like, it's just fun. Even though I'm very much socially inept, I work on it every day, you know?
Well, you've mentioned homeless and you've mentioned it before.
Yeah.
Like, what was that struggle like and how did it prepare you? Is that where all the caring comes from? Is that why you want to lift up every single person in the world?
I don't know. I was 18 and I decided I'm just kind of done with my home life. It was chaotic. There was a lot of just alcoholism, drug abuse, and I didn't want anything to do with it. The day I turned 18, I moved out. I slept in my car for the first couple weeks, and then I set up a tent in the woods and lived in the woods for a little bit. And I saved up enough money, just working a part-time gig, and ended up finally getting a roommate and getting a roof over my head. And that was one of those things I look back on fondly. I feel like that experience has really taught me what matters in life. And it's not the stuff you have, it's not the material possessions, it's not even your title, it's how you can impact the world. I still remember people who were kind to me and gave me an extra free sample at the food court. Or when I was they knew I was scamming and I was lying, that the receipt was very clearly not mine. But I was like, hey, you forgot my burger. And she just looked at me and was like, I got you. I remember that kindness. And when I got laid off, I saw that there's a lot of people who were struggling, right? And a lot of people who had no one. And I don't know. My buddy, I think, said it best. He goes, I feel like you got laid off for a reason, and it's to help people. And I was like, I hate that you're right.
Wow. So when you take over one of those teams, you told me a little bit about the process,
sure.
But what's your greatest success in doing that? Without giving too much away or whatever, but what is it what does a success look like? How do you know when you're successful?
The team I have now is a good team that I would consider was failing. They had no ticketing queue, they had no process, they had no procedures, they had no documentation. It was very much we work on what's on fire, and that's how we prioritize. When I went through the interview with them, I even said, look, because I went through the interview and they said, no, I think he's a great fit. And I said, well, I want to meet with the team. And I talked to the team and I said, are you willing to shake things up? Like, we're not going to keep doing things the same. Like, if you're looking for that, I'm not the right guy. Let me know. I'm happy not to be the right guy. I said, but I feel like you're overworked, you're underappreciated, and no one knows what you're doing because you're not documenting it clearly. So I want to change that. And they're like, yeah, no, that sounds great. And the first day I get in, I get us all on a call and I go, here's what we're going to do. I had built out this ticketing platform. We pay for one, but I don't give names to anything I use. So I built this ticketing platform. I built in all the automation, all the different stuff. And I said, we're going to use this going forward for everything. If anyone asks us to do anything, we document it. We clearly open a ticket. If they don't want to open a ticket, that's cool. We'll open it for them. But we need to document it. One of the guys on the team was like, well, we've never done this before. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I am so sorry. You thought this was a choice. Like, you guys agreed that we could change things, and now I'm changing things. So are we on board? And they're like, I don't know, right? And I got everybody on board. We started doing documentation, and it was probably like a year later, somebody came to me and goes, I kind of get why you do what you do now. But I was able to change that team fundamentally from a team that was gone through 8 previous leaders in the last, I think it was 10 years. So like a leader every few years. I got them a stable leader in there, someone who'd been on the team for years. I used my influence with my senior leadership to fix pay and things that have been just ignored forever. And I took care of my team, and I prioritized their well-being over anything else. The job doesn't matter if your people hate what they do. And I try to teach leaders that. Service leadership is what I'm all about. Like, if I can, Steve Jobs, I think, said it best, is when he first started Apple, he hired career leaders. And they bombed. Because career leaders don't know the trenches. They don't know what the team is dealing with. So he then hired technical people who never wanted to be a leader. And that is very much what I am. I was a technical person who fought leadership tooth and nail, and I just finally got tired of leaders who were ineffective and said, you know what, I can do this better. I'm done. And I've been able to get into a position that allows me to actually make change, and I have an amazing supportive senior leadership team that I've never had before that just is like, yeah, you want to do that? Yeah, we can do that. Sure, you want it, like, all right, let's do that. And it's not always money. You'd be amazed how many times I've asked a team, like, hey, what motivates you? And very rarely is it money. Most of the time it's free time. And leaders forget that these are humans behind the keyboard.
Right.
These are people who actually do a job and actually care about doing a good job. But when you're giving them deadlines that don't make sense because you don't understand the technology, when you're pushing them without having a conversation, when you're not putting an environment or creating an environment where they can challenge things without being shut down aggressively. When I first became a leader, I realized that coming in with a completed thought was a bad tactic. You come in with a partial idea, then everyone in the room can add to it. And that person in the back who never talks will go, well, what about something like this? And you go, hang on. All right, let's add to that. Anyone else have anything else? And then you got a whole room of really smart people who've never been given the privilege of being smart. That's how you build an effective team. That's how you take a team that's a low-performing team and turn them into something different, is by enabling the skills they already have and then empowering them to be successful and creating an environment where failure is not only accepted, it's expected.
Right. So you talk about team building, and that's a great segue to where I want to go. You're the hiring manager. Mm-hmm. Tell me about that.
Yeah.
How do you, what do you look for? What are those skills that you look for? And even beyond that, what the hell's going on in cybersecurity hiring right now? Because I keep being told, we all keep being told that there's 50 million or whatever the number is open jobs.
Sure.
But nobody can get hired. Educate me.
Open jobs doesn't mean there's funding. Open jobs doesn't mean they're going to be filled in the United States. Open jobs doesn't mean that they're actually open jobs. There are many reasons companies open jobs. They may open a job to justify their HR department and marketing expensive and then write those off as a tax write-off and then never fill that role. They might open multiple roles to show that they have growth in their company when they don't actually have growth. Startups do this a lot. They'll open up a ton of jobs and they're like, wow, they're growing huge. In reality, they're not, but they're looking to position themselves to be bought out. And the way you do that is by looking like you're growing drastically faster than you are. Then there's another subset of people where you have to open a job even though you have an internal candidate that's just as good. There's been many times for multiple companies and multiple friends where they have a guy or girl in mind and then they say, I want to hire them, and they go, okay, well, we're still going to open it external. So you've got that statistic and a lot of things that people have said about the cyber shortage was a study that was done many, many, many years ago that said, do you have enough people to effectively run your cyber program? And a resounding answer was no. They didn't ask the follow-up question, do you have the funding to grow this program? Because the answer to that would have also been no. And that's where these kids, and this is why I do what I do, it's because I don't want them to think it's them. I want them to know not only is it not them, it's the market right now. Like if you're going for an entry-level role, and I'm talking to the people who are watching right now, if you're going for an entry-level role and you're working to kind of position yourself to do it, the only way you'll get that opportunity is if you know someone who represents you and who can talk for you. You are not going to get an entry-level role from a cold resume. Stop applying. Start connecting. Go to B-sides. Go to different events. Talk. If you're not comfortable presenting, get comfortable presenting because your communication skills are absolutely critical. I can't tell you how many people I interview who have a technical skill of 10 but a communication skill of 2, and then where does that put their technical? At a 2. Because if you can't talk, I can't put you in front of someone. And if you talk only technical, when you talk to a non-technical person, they're going to instantly shut off. So it's really important to know that the market itself is changing and adapting. Everyone will say like AI is taking jobs. There's no statistical evidence of that. It's only like 120,000 jobs have been taken by AI that you can statistically prove. So where does that leave new people? There's not a need for new people because cyber is not an entry-level career. It's not. If you're looking for a job that's going to explode in the next few years, networking, data center management. We're going to need people to run these big old data centers that we're building all over the world. But here's the thing that most people won't do. When I talk to these new kids, and I mentor hundreds of people, and if your listeners are watching this and they need a mentor, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn. I will mentor you absolutely for free. You can send me your resume. I'll help you do LinkedIn reviews. I do it all in my free time, no cost. All I ask is that you pay it forward. But when you do that, you've got to put in the work. I've mentored 400 plus people, probably less than 40 have put in work. I'll give advice. They'll go, yeah, that's great. And they'll do nothing. I've given the same message on podcasts with hundreds of thousands of viewers, and I've gotten 4 messages, right? Because people don't want to put in the work. They just want it handed to them. Cyber is a job that is going to take you a while to get into. It's a marathon, not a race, right? If you think you're going to come right out of college and score a 6-figure job, it's not going to happen, and it's not going to be remote. You're going to have to be totally flexible. You're going to have to move. You're going to work overnights, and it's going to suck. Like, you'll be doing what you love, but it's not going to be fun. It's not going to be the best job. I didn't just start off as a Fortune 500 executive cyber guy. I worked my way from the level 1 help desk all the way to where I'm at now, because that's how you get there. And those skills and those soft skills that I learned from just working at the help desk, networking, doing architecture type stuff, were invaluable when I became a cyber person. And when I joined cyber at Disney, I was so outclassed by the people I worked with. I joined people that were previous NSA agents and like all of this stuff. And I'm like this punk kid with a high school education who's just like coming to hang out like, hey, I heard you guys like IoT security. I'm really into it now. And that's how I got the job. Like I asked her later, I said, why did you hire me? She goes, your passion. You lit up when I asked you about it. You were so honest with me. You told me you didn't even know what the acronym IoT meant when you applied. And then you told me you spent the last 2 months researching. And then when I asked you to tell me about it, you spent 20 minutes basically telling me how excited you were. That passion is what we needed. And that's why I got the job over people who were way more skilled. I will hire passion, integrity, and excitement over technical any day. I can teach anyone technical. I can't teach people to be excited about their job. I can't teach people to light up when they talk about technology. And that's why it's so unfair to neurodiverse people, because that's the expectation. Your non-neurotypical person who is interviewing is looking to get some sort of excitement or feedback from you. This person you see right now is an act for you. My normal tone, my normal presence, everything is very monotone. I don't need to put on a show. But that person, that inflection is flat, and that doesn't deliver a clear message. Even though I'm pausing, even though I'm still using the same vocal pitch, it doesn't have the same impact, because as I get more emoting, as I change my vocal tone, as it goes up a few octaves, it allows me to communicate the story I want to sell. But most people who are neurodivergent don't have that skill, and they've never worked on it. They're just really smart. But really smart doesn't get jobs anymore. You've got to work on your social. You have to. Just communication, getting more comfortable being uncomfortable, because without that, you're not going to be able to find a job, period. I interviewed brilliant people who I know could do the job, but I have to judge you on that call at that moment. Whether you mentor with me or not, you're judged on that call. And I've even stopped interviews. I go, look, I could tell you're nervous. I'm rooting for you. Relax. We're going to start over. This never happened. Let's try it again. Some people can recover. Most people can't.
Wow.
Because they've never been taught those skills.
Yeah. So mentoring, obviously, big part of your game.
Yes.
Teaching young people to communicate better.
Yes.
And that, obviously, I mean, you're a very polished communicator now.
Oh,
it wasn't always that way for you. How did it begin, and how did you figure it out in the first place that I'm not good at this?
I'll tell you. Yeah, it was a great story too. We had just hired a new person, and she came and sat down with me because she's like, everybody says you're really technical. Like, I want to learn from you. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. And we had a great conversation. And then after a few weeks working with her, she goes, you're not as much of a jerk as everyone said you were. And I was like, hang on, roll it back. What? She's like, yeah, everyone warned me. Everyone warned me that you were very rude and aggressive. I only found out later that I'm autistic, right? I got diagnosed at 40. So I was just like, hold on. And then I talked to my boss and she told me, yeah, everyone hates you. And I was like, hang on. She's like, but you're so brilliant. You can kind of just get away with it. And I was like, well, I would like to fix that. Explain. And she's like, well, you're always trying to help people. And when they're wrong, you jump on it immediately to help correct them. People hate that. And I was like, what do you mean people hate that? She's like, they would rather be wrong than be corrected. And I was like, hang on one sec. So when I correct them or try to help them, I'm actually hindering them. She goes, I know exactly how you think. And this is the first time I've ever had a leader who just didn't say, you're arrogant, I'd always gotten feedback that was very vague. This is the first time I got clear, concise feedback. She goes, what is your greatest teacher? And I said, failure. She said, what are you taking away from them by doing that? I said, the ability to fail. She goes, so why do you have to help when they didn't ask for it? And I paused for a moment. I was like, I don't have to do that. She's like, okay, that's the first step. What's next? And I was like, do I just wait for people? Like, I just let them be wrong? She goes, I'll ask you another question. How do you know because you failed, they're going to fail? Are you that arrogant? And I was like, I guess I am. Oh my God, I'm the jerk. So I went on like my apology tour. Like I went to like everybody I knew and I was like, hey, apparently I'm an ass. And like, I am so sorry. Wow. That was not intentional. I didn't realize I was doing it and no one had ever corrected me. I will try harder, but I need you to do something for me. When I'm being a jerk, please tell me, because I don't always realize it. Social cues I'm not great at. So then I started studying body language. I started studying micro expressions. I got my ADHD kicked in and I was like, I'm going to learn about this. And then I started doing that. Then I learned communication. I couldn't even get in a room in front of 2 people, let alone in front of a crowd of 1,000. And I just kept pushing myself and challenging myself to be more and more uncomfortable. And that's where things started to really grow for me. That's where I started to really turn into what I consider an effective technician. Previously, I was just really technical, but I couldn't tell you what I did. I couldn't tell you why it was important. I couldn't communicate that to you if you asked me.
Why did you, so you've created a small mentoring and media empire on LinkedIn.
By accident too.
Yeah,
absolutely.
like what possessed you to do that? Because if you're learning and trying to get better and be a better communicator, but why take that step?
Oh, I wasn't. So I got laid off from Disney. I hadn't looked for a job in 20 years. I've been at a Fortune 100 for the last 20 years, and my recruiters are like, "Hey, we can't find you online." And I'm like, "Well, I'm a professional ethical hacker. Why would you find me online?" And they said, "Well, if we can't find you online, people are going to assume you're fake. Your resume is really impressive. You've worked on all these amazing things. You helped build Star Wars land. You did all this cool stuff. No one's going to believe it." And I was, so what do I need to do? They're like, "You need a LinkedIn." And I was like, "You've got to be kidding me." And I'm like, so I have to give up my entire life of anonymity. You couldn't even Google my name and find me. Like, I had built bots that purposely poisoned my name so it would show other results. Wow. And like, I'd done everything to stay anonymous because I was a professional ethical hacker for one of the largest companies in the world. I could be a target and I wasn't going to be on anyone's radar. And my recruiters are like, "You don't exist. You're like a ghost." And I was like, "On purpose." Yeah. They're like, "You can't do that." So I kind of was like, okay, and I talked to a couple other recruiter friends, and I'm like, I called my friend Eve, and I was like, "Hey, I'm thinking about going by the moniker BowtieSecurityGuy, because that's what I was called at Disney, because I always wore bow ties." And I said, "But I'm worried it's going to like cost me opportunities." She goes, "It's not going to cost you the right jobs. Do you want to work for a company that would judge you because you wore a bow tie and you're slightly nerdy? Rob, that's who you are. You're a nerdy guy. You ain't fooling nobody." And I was like, okay, all right, that makes sense. Yeah. So I started posting. I studied algorithms. I studied social media growth. I looked at all the other influencers. I looked at all the stuff they were doing. I looked at how they grew. I looked at their content. And then I didn't do any of it. I kind of did my own thing. I was like, I don't want to do all that. Like, sure, I could post multiple videos a day. Sure, I could do things. I know how to hack the algorithm. That's not hard. I could grow drastically faster than I'm growing currently. I actively choose not to because I don't want to change the game of what I'm trying to do, which is try to help people. So I started posting more, and then I started putting out videos of just me, like kind of old man rambling about like stuff that I thought was entertaining. I'm like, I would just go off on a subject and I would record it and I would put it up. I didn't care if it was perfect. I didn't care if it was exactly what I wanted. I just put it out there, and then people started resonating with it. And then one of my posts went viral, and then all of a sudden I've got 10, 20,000 connections on LinkedIn from a guy who's literally never been on social. I've only been on LinkedIn, I think, maybe 4 years, because it was right when I got laid off. And I just kept posting, and then I was like, okay. And then someone's like, hey, you should do a podcast. And I was like, I don't know anything about podcasting. I guess I'll do a podcast. So like, I called up my friends. I was like, hey, you want to be on a podcast? He's like, you got a podcast? I was like, I do now. BowtieSecurityGuy After Dark. He's like, that is so nerdy. And it just kind of kept growing, right? And it kept going more and more and more. And then what I saw was, while we're having this conversation here, there's 1,000 little me's giving advice to people right now. That to me is just amazing. And it helped my career too, because when I go to security conferences, I'm a known entity now. Like, people are like, hey, I've seen your videos. Hey, I've seen you on TikTok. Hey, I've seen you there. And that to me was like this weird game-changing moment for somebody who's completely antisocial to build this whole social presence. My friends laugh at it all the time. They're like, only you would accidentally build like a social media presence and like a whole brand.
How long did it take? What was that process? How long did that process take to get from like very beginning, do I really want to do this?
Yeah.
To now?
So it wasn't a thing that I wanted to do. It was a thing that I had to do because I had to protect my peace. I was crying every day. I was super sad. I had tied so much of my self-worth to my career that I had forgotten who I was. I was my job.
Wow.
And when I didn't have my job, I was nothing. So I just started giving back. I opened up mentoring when I was laid off, and I opened up my Calendly. So I was doing like 6 to 8 hours of mentoring a day. So much so that I had lost my voice and I had to interview. If the people at Prudential see this, I was like, hey, yep, sorry I lost my voice. I'm really excited to be here, right? But I had pushed myself to that point because I was so depressed, and I had given, my identity was tied to my career. It was exactly who I was, and without it, I was nothing. And I was sitting there crying one day, and my wife is like worried. She comes over, she's like, are we okay? Like, and I was like, what do you mean? She's like, well, you're sitting here crying before a job interview. Like, and I was like, oh, well, like, I just feel like I'm worthless. She goes, are we okay financially? And I was like, oh yeah, we're fine. I'm like, what? She's like, but what are we worried about then? And I was like, I don't know. It's just so much of who I was my job. She goes, so make something else who you are. And I was like, makes sense, right?
Yeah.
And that was where I realized that I had made like a fundamental mistake that so many people make, is they tie their career to their self-worth. And then when that career gets yanked out from underneath them, they just don't even know what to do. So when I mentioned earlier all those people that I offered a mentor, it's not their fault. They're broken. They have to come back from that to be able to get back into the swing of things. They have to believe in themselves again before they can have others believe in them. And that was one of the things where I started just putting content out there, and then I started to see the impact. And I'll tell you a story because it's still very moving to me. I get a call. It's like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, or I get a message on LinkedIn like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. It's like somebody reaches out and like, hey, I'm just looking for some mentoring. I'm having a hard time, if you have a few moments, I'd love a few minutes of your time. And I was like, hey, you want to get on a call now? This guy in India. And he's like, isn't it like 3 in the morning for you? I was like, I'm not doing anything. Like, let's chat. And we get on a call and we have a really great conversation. I share some of my stories and some of my hardships with him. And it was like a year later, he messaged me. He was like, hey, I was going to end my life that night. And I saw your random video and I decided to just reach out. And you didn't know me from anything. And you took time to talk to me. And you continued to follow up with me and check in with me for months. Like, who does that? And I couldn't just keep fighting. Like if you would do that, there's good out there. And that to me is like, damn it, now I'm stuck doing this crap for life. Like, 'cause that was it for me. I was like, if I can make that type of impact on a single person, and I get messages all the time where people are like, I have felt like an absolute failure, and then I watched your video about breaking into cyber and I realized it's not me. Thank you. That is just so powerful to me.
And I can, it touched me. We were both at Zero Trust.
Yeah.
And I obviously, you stand out in a crowd.
6'7".
I
with
noticed you.
bow tie, big beard.
And I'm like, I'm not going to bother him.
Yeah.
And yet you took the time because you recognized that I also like goofy hats.
Yeah.
And reached out to me on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
You didn't owe me anything.
Yeah.
There was no reason for you to do it, to be perfectly honest. It was just a random occurrence.
It was.
That I'm learning that, wow, you do this a lot.
I do.
You do this a lot.
All the time.
And like if you look at the like our chat feed, like it is a mile long now.
Yeah. Just nerding out
like,
about stuff.
Just like
sharing
just
ideas.
conversation.
Yeah.
And like if the audience takes anything from this is as legit as it gets because I've experienced it. The things that you are saying are absolutely true because I've experienced it.
Yeah, I know I sound like a fraud, right? Like, I get it. Like, people don't want to believe that there's people that are this self-sacrificing. I'm not. I get so much from mentoring. It is an absolute drug for my ADHD. Like, these podcasts, like, fuel me like fire for the entire day. Like, it is palpable. So you may not think I'm getting anything from it, but the growth that I've had, the way I've been able to help people, and just being able to just come chat. Like, somebody reaches out, like you reached out and want me to come hang out and talk about my life and share. That's so cool to me. That's something that would have never happened, and I didn't even know you had a podcast.
Yeah.
I legit just saw your hat and thought it was cool.
Yeah. Just a ridiculous guy walking around.
I feel like a lot of my connections happen that way. Like, I recently had Jason E. Street on the podcast, and
Love that guy.
I'm so bad because like I'm self-taught entirely. I don't know any of these social like people, like, and it's been really wild to me. Like, when I was at Zero Trust World, they're like, "Hey, have you ever met Jerry?" And I was like, "I don't know who Jerry is." They're like, "Simply Cyber," and I was like, again, no idea.
Yeah.
Like, and they're like, huge like podcast. Like, he does a daily show, and
Yes.
I'm like, yeah, I'm down to meet Jerry. And like went and hung out with Jerry, and then like that led to being on the Hacking Humans podcast. And literally had no idea who any of these people were. I just said yes. You know, it's very much like that Jim Carrey movie where I just stopped. Like, every time I feel uncomfortable, I'm like, yeah, I'll do that. Like, you're like, hey, can we meet in person? I'm like, sure. Like, let's go. Let's do it. But I feel like that is where so many people are different, where they try to pretend to be something they're not, where I'm just a big old dork who's made a bunch of mistakes. And if I can teach other people what not to do, I'm going to do it. And the fact that, like, I now have sponsors, like we both have ThreatLocker as a sponsor, which is mind-blowing.
Yeah.
They reached out and they're like, hey, let me get your card and, you know, talk your media card. And I'm like, yeah, no problem. And I'm like Googling on ChatGPT. I'm like, the hell's a media card? It's like, and I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna send them my stats, which are literally terrible, right? Like, I was like, yeah, I've got like 10,000 impressions. Now, you know, their bet worked out, right? Now I've got like 1.5 million impressions. Like, so like they bet on me early on, but I priced myself at the top, guys. I priced myself to where I wanted to be, not where I was. And it worked out. Like, it somehow worked out. And now, like, more people are reaching out, and that, I think that genuineness kind of comes off. And my mentees will always, like, I'll be on a podcast or a live stream, and all my mentees will be like, no, he's legit like this, I promise. And I always find it funny. Like, I joined a new group, Cyber Heaven, one of the Discords. One of my mentees invited me. They help people in cyber and stuff. And I'm part of a ton of Discords where I just kind of pop in and give advice when I get bored. And they were like, hey, like, I know Rob doesn't seem like it doesn't seem like this is real. Like, no, he's as legit as they come. Like, I don't need to vet him, but like, I promise you, like, what he's saying is legit. So, no, I appreciate that, though.
All right, I've got two more questions.
Yeah,
for
man,
you.
shoot.
One is, for all the people out there that experience social anxiety, and the fear of speaking in front of people, you told me about a kind of an unorthodox way that you got a lot of practice speaking, and I don't think people would generally think about it, and I'd love to share
immersion therapy. I just did it. And I was terrible at it until I wasn't. And here's the thing about being a bad public speaker. A bad public speaker is more memorable than a good public speaker. Think of the last public speech you watched. Doesn't matter who it was. Tell me something about it right now. Exactly.
I was going to criticize myself.
Yeah, but fair. But it's hard, right?
For sure.
Because your mind is not designed to retain anything, right? It's got a short buffer. It says, this is no value to me. This is all crap. And I'll stand in front of a crowd of people and I'll talk for an hour and I'll say, who remembers what I said? And one guy will put his hand up and I'll go, tell me what it was. And he'll be like, blah, 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 blah. And he'll reiterate it perfectly, right? And I'll be like, awesome. Tell me something else. The reality is people aren't going to remember. One thing that neurodiverse people do, and a lot of neurodiverse people have social anxiety, is they believe that when a conversation ends, that everyone goes into their head, replays that conversation 10,000 times, and then nitpicks themselves like you do. I can see my people. And you kind of nitpick everything you did wrong and kind of think, normal people don't do that. Normal people end a conversation, they just walk away. They don't think about you. When you do a presentation, a bad presenter is better than a good one. Because I will remember a bad presenter, because it'll go right into my midterm memory, and then it'll go into long-term memory as I giggle about it later. And that's the reality. A good presenter is forgettable. An excellent presenter is memorable. But even then, only maybe 2-3 minutes of it are memorable. So why are you so worried? And the fear is judgment, right? A lot of people who are neurodiverse have something called rejection sensitivity dysphoria. This is the easiest way to explain it is like you assume everyone hates you and that they're just pretending to like you. I suffered from that for a very long time. And it's one of those factors that controls everything. It's like imposter syndrome, but worse, because you not only are you an imposter, but everyone hates you too. And for me, it was true. Everyone did hate me. It wasn't in my head, but the reasoning was all my fault, and I didn't know it. And that's the difference. Understanding that most people don't think about you, and just put yourself out there. If you have social anxiety, go to an improv class. Be a fool. No one cares how foolish you look. Go to a local D&D game and play make-believe. I play every single Monday. I play with a bunch of grown men. We do silly voices, and we do it every single Monday, and I have for several years.
You've talked about that making a difference in your ability to communicate.
A drastic difference, because I'm playing characters every time. I'm playing a new character, and I'm embodying that character. Learning those skills. A lot of what people do who are neurodiverse is they personality mimic or they mask. They become whoever you want them to be. So I always joke that people are like, oh, you're really great to talk with. I said, yeah, I created this personality for you. It's for you, buddy. I made it just for you. But that's what we do. We learned very early on, and we did it a lot to ourselves, that if we're more agreeable and we're more like you, we're more accepted. There's a study that's been done that say 80-90% of people will meet someone who's neurodiverse and just not feel right about it. They're like, I don't know, there's something off. So if you're neurodiverse and you think people don't like you, they probably don't, but you can change that. You can have a conversation with them. You can be upfront. I'm upfront a lot with my autism, because then people are like, oh, he's a little weird. He's also autistic. It's all good. I'll do it on calls too, where I'll join a call and they'll be like, hey, here's the problem. I said, all right, I'm going to go full tism for a moment. I'm going to hit you with a ton of data. Here's how my mind's going right now. And I'm like, ba, 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 ba. And they go, oh, that's a great idea. I'm like, hang on. And I'm like, and I just keep kind of hammering at it. But you have to set the tone, right? It's so important to set the tone. If you're uncomfortable, set the tone. Hey, I'm a little uncomfortable. Hey, I'm a little bit nervous. Hey, I'm just trying to get there. Another kind of, and I'm not referencing Steve Jobs, except it came up in one of my feeds recently. Not someone I idolize, because he's a terrible leader, but he said something that there's never been a time where he'd reached out for someone for help that they've just been like, no. At 12 years old, he reached out to the guy at Hewlett Packard and said, hey, I'm trying to build these things. Can I get some parts? Not only did they give him parts, he ended up getting a part-time job over the summer and working at the Hewlett Packard assembly line. That's where cyber is at right now. just put yourself out there. Like, don't be afraid of rejection. I sent out 3,000 messages when I got laid off. Every one of them manual, like a fool. I tried to use automation, and then I got like a daddy slap from LinkedIn. They're like, if you do this again, we're going to ban you. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't lose my LinkedIn because then I don't exist. But reach out to people and have a genuine conversation. I sent out an intro video, 2-minute intro video. It was just like, hey, LinkedIn's kind of a faceless place. I just want to get to know people. Here's a little bit about me. Here's what I like to do. Let's chat. If you know, I'm not looking for much. And doing that allows you to grow, and doing that, you know, allows you to kind of get more comfortable being uncomfortable, which is my life motto.
So when you sitting in your office and it's like, you know what, I'm going to fire off a LinkedIn message to that guy that I saw in a hat at Zero Trust. What do you hope to get from it?
Absolutely nothing. I have zero expectations for life.
Really? Wow.
I don't expect anything from life. I have lived in a traumatic childhood, horrible, dealing with homelessness, starvation. Like, I don't expect anything from life. What I expect is just to be a good person and try to do good, right? I don't expect anything from you. I don't expect this podcast to do anything for me. I don't care if it does. All I do is just reach out to people, and you have no idea where it's going to take you. But I have zero expectations for anyone. That goes for my team too. They know what they need to do. They know what their job is. But if they don't do it, or they're having a hard day, they know they can come to me. I had my employee reach out today and said, I'm just not feeling it today. I had a lot of stuff happen over the weekend. I said, cool, see you tomorrow. We need to bring back the human side into business. When companies are rug pulling people and sending out an email to 30,000 people at Oracle that says, hey, thanks for that 20 years of service. Have a good day.
Yeah.
Why are we killing ourselves? Leaders are going to become the job that changes things in the future. Cyber is going to drastically shift in the next few years, and leaders are going to be the ones that shift it. And if you have toxic leaders in your company, you'll know. Because people don't quit jobs, they quit bosses. I very rarely lose people. And when I do, it's because they went for an opportunity, and I still talk to them today. And I even told my team, like, we're going through that big reorg at my company. I'm losing some of my team to another team. And I was like, just because I'm not your boss doesn't mean I'm not here for you. And that's just kind of the person I am. Like, I've been through so much that, like, I don't have expectations for life. I'm just thankful to be breathing. I've learned how to walk 3 times. I've lived through all of these struggles, and just breathing and existing is something I'm thankful for. The fact that I could walk from the parking garage here unassisted with my leg braces, this took me 2 years of falling, 2 years of injuring myself to get these leg braces to a point where I could walk without excruciating pain, and it is amazing.
Wow.
Something that so many people take for granted, cutting through the grass. I was literally like almost in tears, and my kids are laughing hysterically at me because, like, I'm cutting through the grass. I'm like, this is amazing. And I'm like so joyous because I can walk on grass.
Yeah.
But so many people take those things for granted. I've had to learn to walk 3 times.
Wow.
I don't take things for granted. For the longest time, I was always trying to prove to someone else what success was, and proving to someone else what success is. When I stopped trying to prove to anyone, that's when I really became successful, because none of this matters. Like, my job doesn't matter. It can go away tomorrow. What matters is the relationships I have, the friendships that I make. You know that you can reach out to me if you're struggling. I could be that anchor for you if you're struggling and you have no one else. That to me is, I don't know, it just means something. If more people did it, and if you're watching this and you're employed and you're not actively going out and helping people and reaching out to people who are laid off, you are not part of the security community. Because we need people. We need people to help others. This is a very hard field. Like you said, the entry-level field is rough. But these kids are being sold on this fallacy that there's all these jobs and that they're just not good enough. And that's what I've been doing, and going on all these shows and recording all this content. It's showed not only are you good enough, it's just broken. It's not your fault.
Yeah.
it's not you, it's me type scenario. But like that, it's really important that people know that, because that's what eats at your soul. I talk to these kids all the time. They're like, I've been doing this for 2 years. And I said, awesome, and it's right around the corner. One of my favorite things is like, what if I told you that you're 10 no's away from your dream job? Would that no be a little easier to stomach? Hell yeah, it would. Yeah. Like, I had gone through multiple interviews. I missed out on a director role at Universal by like that much, and it was killing me. And then I landed at a company that I absolutely love, and I would have never expected it. So sometimes when things don't work out, it's just not the right time. And sometimes when things happen to you, it's not the right time for it to happen. I joke with people all the time, like if I didn't have the struggles that I had when I got laid off, I wouldn't have been prepared. Majority of people I talk to, and 85% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah.
So when I have conversations with grown men, and many of them will probably watch this and be like, I had that conversation, are you talking about me? No. A lot of people are in their 40s and they have less than $10,000 in their bank account. When they get laid off, they go, what do I do? And then they talk to me and I'm like, do you want the reality or do you want me to like sugarcoat it? Like, they're like, no, the reality. I was like, oh, you're going to regret that choice. And I go, okay, the reality is it's going to take you at least a year to find a job. For every $10,000 that you want to make, that's going to be at least 1 month searching. So if you need to make 120 grand, it's going to take you a year to get there. And that's hitting it every single day. That's posting on LinkedIn. That's going to social events. That's putting yourself out there. Because here's the reality. Cyber jobs are going to go to people we know. They're not going to go to somebody who just cold applied, unless you have like machine learning or AI and you've already done work in that field. Those are the only cold resumes I know of that have been mentees of mine have gotten responses back. I'm like, how did you get that job? They're like, I just applied. And the first response is, how much AI and ML is on your resume? And they go, oh, a ton. I built this out at this. And I was like, okay, that's why.
That's the unicorn situation.
It is, right? And that's the thing is employers are chasing unicorns, but they're not willing to invest in talent. And that's where they're looking for like, hey, we want a junior level person with 3 years of experience, and we also want them to be like almost at senior level, so we don't have to actually put any work into them. Oh, and we're going to pay you 45 grand.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean that's right now the average salaries that I've seen for entry level is around 35 to 55,000.
Wow.
And that reality check for some people has been like palpable, where I'm like, they're like, well, I can make that at like a manager at Wawa. And I was like, yeah, you totally can.
Yeah.
If you don't love this field, don't go into it. Yeah. There is no shortage.
It's like on par with teacher pay.
It is.
Which is like everybody generally, if you have a college education, teacher pay.
Yeah, which is crazy, right?
Yeah.
Even teachers are paid more now. If you have a bachelor's degree, it's 45, 55,000.
Yeah.
And that's the thing too, is teachers with masters are having a harder time finding jobs because they require more pay because there's a set limit based on your degree. So there's all of these people who are struggling for jobs. The way I break this down is very simple. Every single month, 3,500 to 4,500 people graduate with cyber degrees. Every single month. So that means by the end of this year, there's going to be 50, 60,000 people looking for the exact same entry-level role you are. How do you differentiate? And if you're not putting in the work, you're not putting in the time, you're not putting in networking, you're not going to find a job, period. And if you're uncomfortable doing that, get comfortable doing it.
That is phenomenal advice. All right. I'm going to ask you one last question.
Sure, man.
So we generally end the show this way, and it's just an opportunity to say thanks to somebody. So who would you like to say thanks to and why?
Oh, they've told me not to say thanks to them anymore. She knows who she is. She was that leader who was like, hey, everyone hates you. And I was like, that was the pivotal turning point in my life. I told her specifically, I said, what you did for me, I will continue to mentor for the rest of my life. And I used to send her reports. I would be like, hey, I mentored like 20 people this year, all because of you. And she's like, you really don't have to send me these. It's okay. I get it. I impact your life. Thank you. Please stop making it uncomfortable. But everyone, right? I have tons of mentors that have been just absolutely amazing to me. But I try to be mindful of their privacy, and as I've gotten bigger and as I've gotten more attention, like they're like, please don't mention me. So they know who they are.
Yeah.
And I've told them and I've thanked them profusely. I'm very open with how thankful I am. There were so many people who helped me when I was unemployed, who were also unemployed just through that struggle.
Yeah.
I call them my battle buddies. It's a military term for somebody who just sticks through it no matter what. And we still talk now, and they check in on me and I check in on them, and we were going through that struggle together. We were finding this world that was unfamiliar and unkind and faceless and soulless, and we found a connection to meet and kind of build off of that, right? And that was just really cool to me. And I always tell people when I teach a class on the cyber market, it's find your battle buddies. Find those people you can call and cry to. As men, we're really crying is weakness. Hell no. Let that out, man. Don't hold that anger, that sadness in, because it'll just eat you from the inside. And being vulnerable is not a weakness, it's a strength. And man, you can power people, you can empower them by telling them stories. You can learn to storytell and use those stories to help others and empower others. That's what it's all about. So hopefully anybody listening who's afraid to take that first step, just do it. Your worst case scenario is that you fail. And then you get up and do it again. And that's not failure, that's just your first attempt in learning.
You just learned something.
Yeah, man. You learned what not to do next time. I love failing. I always called it fail with style, because Buzz Lightyear flew with style.
Yeah.
I always call it failing with style. I know I'm probably not going to be successful, but I'm going to try it anyways. That's how I became, working incident response at Disney, because I was just I never took no for an answer. And I was like, well, why can't I do it? Oh, well, you don't have the experience. All right, well, here, I'm going to build a program that brings vulnerability management and IR together. We'll work on incidents together, and I'll kind of help fill that gap as a liaison, and then I'll learn IR, and I'll teach you guys vulnerabilities, and here's my proposition, here's what you'll get, here's what I'll get. And they're like, yeah, we can do this. Don't accept no. And if your company doesn't have a cyber program and you want to be a cyber person, have a conversation. Hey, I'd love to work on some firewalls. They'll love you to do more work for free. That's the biggest thing. And just put yourself out there and don't be afraid to fail, because so many people spend their lives afraid of what could happen and don't spend their lives living. And to me, I just stopped doing that. That one time, and I was in my 20s, and my legs had stopped working. I was on disability, and I had started working, and I hadn't worked forever because I've been on disability. If you work on disability, you lose your health care, and you lose it fast. And I had gotten a job at a gas station, and I was working there for about a week or two, and I was like, this is amazing. I have a job. I feel like I'm somebody. And then my legs stopped working. And I was dragging myself across my apartment and just didn't know if I wanted to keep fighting. And I chose that moment to say, no, I'm not going to be defined by my illness. I'm not going to be defined by my limitations. I'm just going to keep fighting. And whenever I'm told no, I use that as fuel. I loved when people tell me, I had a leader at Disney who was like, you'll never be an executive without a degree. I was like, okay, I'll prove you wrong. I appreciate you giving me the motivation to do so. And I did, right? So it's one of those things that just because somebody says it can't be done doesn't mean it can. One of my favorite quotes from Walt is, it's kind of fun to do the impossible. That was the type of guy he was. This is a guy who would write on the back of a napkin, he sent a postcard to the Imagineers at Disneyland, and he said, here's my idea for the Matterhorn. Build it. That's the type of dude he was. He went and grabbed Bob Gurr, who was selling maps at the park, said, hey kid, you want to come hang out? The guy ended up becoming one of the best engineers in the world. I sat and talked with him, and we sat down and kind of had a chat. And when Walt died, the Imagineers were like, Bob, you need a degree in engineering to continue to be an Imagineer. And Bob said, why do I need a degree? can you show me something I built that doesn't work? I built the monorail, I built all these things. And they said, well, it's not about that. It's just about the perception. He said, I'm done then. And he went and built his own company. The first thing he built was Confrontation for Universal. Because they looked at him as a piece of paper, not a person. And Walt looked at people as human beings that could be just ignite a passion. One of my favorite stories that's probably not been told many places, because this came directly from Bob. And Walt was sitting down, they were talking about the Haunted Mansion, and they came and they pitched the Haunted Mansion to him. And Walt gets up and he's all pissed. He's like, it's not going to work. It's stupid. And he just walks out and leaves. Chain smoking, just an aggressive ass. He gets up and he leaves. And he comes back in the next morning, and one of the Imagineers comes back in, and Walt's sitting there, eyes red, hadn't slept, and he goes, your idea was stupid, but I figured out a way to do it. Here's how we can do it. And he pitched the idea for the Haunted Mansion in Disneyland. We're going to do a walkthrough, and then we're going to do this, and that's what I love. And we're losing that innovation. We're losing that kind of passion. We see it in startups, but we're losing it with AI. We're losing it with a lot of things. But yeah, there's so many people I want to thank, and all of them know who they are because I've told them to their face multiple times how much they mean to me.
That's awesome. You're the first one to answer it that way. I love when somebody answers something a new way. Okay, so remind people one more time how they can get a hold of you if they want to connect.
Yeah, BowtieSecurityGuy, all one word, across everything except X. Not a big Elon fan.
Fair enough. Thank you so much for joining us. Thanks. Check us out, all the social media stuff, YouTube, and we'll be back again soon. See you in the next breakout room. We'll be back again soon to connect you with the innovators, creators, and game changers in the industry. No Password Required is produced by Cyber Florida. For more content, follow us on social media @NoPasswordPod and visit our website at cyberflorida.org/pod.